Well, hello everyone. Sorry, it's been about 3 weeks since I had a video uploaded. In fact, this makes 3 weeks today, I do believe. But just been real busy. A lot of stuff going on at work, working the weekends. Have been working here in the shop. I've already got 2 other videos completed. They're on my computer. I just got to get them edited and get them uploaded, and I'll try to do that this week during the evenings. We'll just have to see how it goes. But I had a friend of mine went to Dayton, and he picked up a few items that we better take a look at here in the near future. And I told him, I said, look, when you go to this Hamfest, you know what I do in here, you know what to look for, and if you would pick up a few things, and I'll reimburse you for them, and I can have some extra content to do some videos on, especially troubleshooting and stuff. One of the first things he picked up was this little Kenwood. It is the TM732A. Has a detachable head. This is 2 meter 70 centimeter, and somewhere here should be a release to take this head off. I don't see it, but it does come off. And in fact, it says here detachable control head. And but haven't even had a chance to look at it or see what was wrong with it or whatever. And he said it did have an issue with it. I didn't get into detail with him because I wanted to go through it and troubleshoot it with you guys. So it has the original DTMF microphone on it, so we'll be able to tear it apart here in the near future and possibly get a good troubleshooting video out of it. It's always nice to pick these up because everybody's always looking little mobile radios. Several of the repeaters around here has gone digital, but we still have a few that works on the solar system. So yeah, it's just one item that we'll get a chance to take a look at. And another item that he had picked up, and he had got it for a steal, because neither him or myself really do a lot with CB equipment these days. Now, I did run a CB shop with a partner many years ago, for about 25 years, and I did most of the bench work back then, and before that I did a little bit here and there at some of the other businesses I worked at. But I've said many times before, if you're learning electronics, starting with CB radio is a great platform to start on to learn how to fix RF related devices. One thing, you can get them cheap if you mess them up, no big loss, but it's a lot of stuff to learn on working on a CB radio. Now, this one is AM, upper lower sideband, and this was Browning's, back when Browning was in business. Let's say that this was their attempt to overtake or get back into the market. The 23 channels has done phased out. The 40 channels has came in. Base stations has started to become solid state. The tubes were going away at the time, and this was Browning's attempt to get back into the tube market. This is sort of a hybrid unit. You got your receiver and your transmitter. Now, I will tell you, the receiver works. The transmitter does not even power on. Something that I never did. Well, there's several factors in this particular design that I did not care for. Your main power source is in the receiver. The receiver feeds voltages to the transmitter. Also, Browning's attempt at digital PLL in this transmitter was a big mistake. It's very, very problematic. To change channels, you rotate this dial either way to go either up or down, and you can change the speed as it goes. But you know, one of the biggest things they got over here, test, and they got a reset. So when this thing craps out, you just reset it, and that tells you, you know, that's a poor design. I think Mike over at Mike's Radio Repair had done a video on that not too awful long ago, about how crappy this design is. But overall, the radio looks real good. Now the receiver is definitely made after their 23 channel version, the Mark III. It has you know, a VFO, but it just covers 40 channels instead of the 23, so it's basically the same receiver. The transmitter is what they failed that. One little damaged part over here on the face, but other than that, rest of it looks pretty good. And part it was somebody didn't get, I can look at it now and the cabinet's not on correctly, and the cabinet's probably caught that and damaged the front of it a little bit. But it'll be a neat little piece of equipment to restore back to original. If there's any mods in it, we'll take those out and get this thing back like it was from the factory. Looks like just minimum cleaning of the cabinets. The cases are in real good shape. The front, the grill cloth looks real good. You see the eagle up here just needs a good polishing, but it doesn't look bad at all. So we'll get that tore down and go through it in the video and get a little understanding of how this thing is designed and what these engineers was thinking or wasn't thinking when they put this thing together. It was just, you know, the best thing you could do is just strip all this out and put a DDS VFO in it. But yeah, it's I've never cared for this design. But like I say, it was Browning's attempt to get back into the tube market. This radio is a tube radio, and you know, it was just a big failure on their part. Now, as you can see here on the back, there is one power cord, one fuse. There is a antenna connector, and somebody's installed a switch over here just above the serial number. And I don't know if you ever heard these things on the air. When you key them up, it has the what they call the Browning ping, and what it is just when the transmitter keys up, the receiver is unmuted for a second or two, and you'll get an audio feedback between the transmitter and the receiver, and it bleeds out through the microphone and the speaker. And a lot of times what someone would do is change this by flipping this switch up. They'll put a, normally they will run a 40 microfarad capacitor, 350 volts in that circuit, and they might change it to a 60 microfarad capacitor, and that will change the length and sound of that ping, if you like that kind of stuff. But that's what they were doing. But you can see there's antenna connector here, and that just plugs into the receiver. Then you put your transmission line right here on the bottom of the transmitter, and to power the two units, they got this one cable comes off the transmitter, and it just plugs right into the back of the receiver. Now the transmitter gets all its power from the receiver. These were very, very problematic also. In fact, over the years, I have seen people had just got fed up with them, took these connectors off and soldered the wires right inside. They took this plug out, put a plate on it, put a grommet round hole, and soldered it directly into the receiver, so you couldn't take the two units apart, and that would solve the problem. Most of the time these things gets corroded, a wire breaks or something happens, and you will not get the voltages to the transmitter that you need. Now, as most of you know, I am a nostalgia buff. I love old equipment. And this is a piece of equipment that's about as old as you can get. Well, not really, but you know, that's in this kind of condition. This is a multi-LMAC transitor model AF-67. And what this is, it's an AM narrow FM CW transmitter. And what's so cool about this thing is that it covers 10, 15, 20, 40, 80, and 160 all in this little case. So it covers all your popular bands, especially that 160 for working AM on. It's just fantastic. And you know, the rig doesn't look that bad. You can see the lettering looks real good on it. The plate over here looks good. A little yellowing on it, you know, but not bad. The display is not cracked. It has a couple of scratches on it. When we restore this, we got to be real careful because you can see it's got G, G, V, M, and then the P is down here on the bottom. And this is for, you know, your plate current modulation. Setting 4 is not used. And then, you know, plate voltage, grid, different things. This is your mic gain. Cut your microphone up and down. We got a VFO control. And yes, it has a built-in VFO that covers the entire segments of each band. Or you can plug 2 crystals in down here and go to either crystal 1, crystal 2. Load control, plate control, and grid control. You also have your power switch and VFO control. Here we have a jack for a key and a jack for a microphone. Now this rig was built back in the mid 50s, sometime around 54, 55. The meter on it looks great. You see you got 2 chrome handles here on the front. Our RF connector is over here on the side to hook your antenna up. But somebody has come on the back of this unit and built a TR switch. This is the receiver port. You got your coax coming from the transmitter port going up through the bottom, and then the antenna connects to the other side. And it throws all kinds of red flags looking at this. Just the way it's designed, the way they have done it. You turn around and look, we can see we got 2 cloth cover wires right here. I don't know what the voltage is on these. Just going through a drilled hole, no grommet around it. Same thing for the RF cable. We flip it up on its side. So if you're looking at the bottom here, you can see there's 3 wires coming through here that are cloth covered, also through a drilled hole with no grommet. Another thing they did, apparently they could not find the connector to go into the back of it, so they made this connector up with this amp pin connector on it, and they soldered all the wires directly to the pins. Now, you know, like I said before, looking at that old Browning, these things are just not reliable. They will corrode up and cause issues with not making contacts, because the female part of it, the little clip inside, it's not that great, and all they got to do is get a little oxidation on them. So this was probably a better choice than from what they did. And on the back here we got a little control on the back, and what this is AM, narrow FM, and CW switch. Now this just doesn't go to switch inside. It goes through a control and it has an arm on it. There's an arm that goes all the way to the other side, so it's changing two wafer switches at one time. The way this thing is designed is just really amazing, and when we get into it, you'll be astonished at just what the engineers were thinking back then when they made this. Another thing that's real amazing the way it's made. If you look here across the top, you see this control here, and under here you can see 10, 15, 20, 40, 80, and 160. And you got this lever, and you move it to the corresponding band that you want to operate on. And you see it doesn't move that easy, and you wonder, alright, what's going on here? Well, that lever that's in this thing is a work of art just by itself, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if we look in here at the circuit layout inside this rig, you can see that control sticking out the front, and it's connected to this flat bar that runs all the way to the back of the transmitter. Up here there is a chain that is connected to it, and you see these 3 gears here. This chain goes around all 3 of those gears. So when you're moving this back and forth through all the bands, it's changing 3 different circuits by this gearing that's in there. Very interesting the way that thing is designed. Also, I was telling you about the mode control on the back. We'll zoom in just a little bit here. You can see this is where that control comes out at the back for the mode. And you see it's a block, and there's one straight shaft that goes right on over to this other control. So when you change that, you're changing 2 controls at one time. This does run a 6146 final tube and a pair of 5881 modulator tubes. This old rig is plate modulated, and you can set this to bypass the 6146 and drive something else and use this just as the exciter, hence why they call it the transciter. Now, back when people ran these transmitters, they also run the multi-ag LMAC PRM-7 receiver, and it's a little small receiver, and most of the time these was used as mobile operation during that time period. And they did have a power supply that ran that little receiver that you could also run the transmitter off of. I don't have the original power supply that powers this unit, and there's many different voltage. You know, using mobile, it ran through dyno motors and a few other circuitry and a little box that converted it over. But this is what was sent to me as a power supply. Now, this is an old Hallicrafter's cabinet, and it was the P-26, and somebody built a power supply for this multi-iMac, and I'm telling you, I'm really I don't think I would plug this thing in if I had a 100-foot drop cord between the wall and this piece of equipment. You can see this is the plug, the amp pin that plugs into the back. That's 5 transformers here. Now, you know, this is the plate transformer. You can see just how huge it is. And I'm looking at a date code of 52 on that thing. But man, I looked inside of this and it is scary. And I'll just go ahead and show you exactly what I mean by scary. Wow. That is just, words cannot explain what I'm seeing here. This has to be one of the worst built power supplies I have ever seen. I mean, really, I don't know how to even comment about the things I'm seeing here. You can see these two big resistors, and this is the modulation bias control resistor. And they have a piece of 1/4 inch all thread bolted to this side of the chassis, and it just runs through with this resistor sitting on each side. Okay, it's not too bad, but, you know, this end should have been supported. They will go ahead and go through that trouble. Just run it all the way through and put the rod out the back. That way you don't have to worry about this thing vibrating and coming loose or anything. The next thing, you can see this resistor here. These two terminals are, I mean, just a 1/4 inch away from the bottom plate. If something was to happen and this would drop down, I can't even see what's even holding. Little spring clips, what it looks like in there. Something would break, these is going to fall and hit the bottom of the chassis. These two capacitors here, you can see they're newer, upgraded looking capacitors. They don't look that old. But the lead length is what's suspending these capacitors. That's a good 3.5 inches here. And they got this here just laid together and soldered. Let me see if I can zoom you in on that. There you go. You see the two leads are just laid together and soldered. If something again was to break, you know, this cap come loose and something would short out. Over here on this side they got this little power supply board suspended here by one standoff, one screw. There's a transformer, 2 relays, and a capacitor on it. Now, it looks like one of them old Radio Shack experimental boards. I don't know what it's doing, but it doesn't look that safe. Again, it's only suspended by 1/4. You know, this can break off. And I'm seeing some bare wires down here that's been clipped off. There's a relay here. There's a relay right here that's just tie wrapped to some wires flapping around. They do have a soft start down here, and by the look at it, it looks like filament voltage. So maybe they're using this to turn the filaments off and on. What else can I tell you about this? There's another capacitor here at the top, just hanging in the breeze. So many wire terminals in here, and the wires are these cloth covered wires, and they're frayed and just look like they could short out at any minute. Like I said, I would be almost scared to even turn this thing on. Looking up here at the bias pot, doesn't look too bad. This looks like the original board that was for the Helicrafters, just the way it's designed with these old roundies on it. But man, I don't know if we could fix this, or even if we even want to try to fix it. It's just so many design flaws in there. Now, you know, I'm all for people home brewing stuff. I mean, I love home brewing. There's no problems at all with, you know, home brewing your own equipment. But when you do it, take the time and do it right, and make it something that when someone else gets it, they can say this person had a lot of pride in what they were doing. This wire from this resistor right here, like I say, I don't know what it's feeding, but it's only, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch from this this all thread rod going through. You know, another, in fact, I can make it touch just by doing that. Not very good at all. Looking here on top, we can see that this transformer and this transformer both are at an angle, which means that this top is bent in somewhere around this middle. There's a big ohmite resistor standing straight up here. And again, you know, they do have a piece of heat shrink on this end. And the wires are going through the chassis with no grommet whatsoever around it. But you can see these transformers both are tilted in, which means this top is bent. Somebody's either dropped it. You know, just again, so many things wrong with this supply that I don't know if we can salvage it, if we can go in and rebuild it, do some redesigning or what on it. Take it out of this cabinet maybe and put it in a bigger cabinet. I don't know. Finding an original will probably be hard to do, or not only hard to do, but if you do find one, it's probably going to be a little bit expensive, since there ain't just so many of the original power supplies running around. Something we'll have to think about and look at. We'll just have to see. But again, the radio will be a snap to restore. One thing I like about it, we can tear this thing completely apart. We can take the front control panel off of it and this, and we can repaint the whole faceplate, the whole cabinet, put it back together, clean these up. They're just held on by little Phillips screws. So, and the controls on the front and switches is what holds this plate on. So, you know, we can be real careful when we take this apart and clean it, and clean this lens. Hopefully we can buff the scratches out of it and try to get some of the yellowing out. Knobs are not bad. The knobs are in pretty good shape. It's just that all of them, the chrome is flaked off the front of them. So maybe, and this one's completely gone. So maybe we can find something to make and refill these back up, pop these out, and make some new ones to stick in. But yeah, this will be a pleasure to just restore this piece. And then we'll have to do something about a power supply, because we just don't want to make it a shelf queen. So we'll look and see what we can come up with that. So anyway, we see how things go over the next few months. Still have a lot of stuff in here I'm working on. A lot more stuff coming in. We've got to get back on our tube tester. Got the parts in, just got to get time to finish it up. We've got a Atlas sitting over here and another TS940 that we're working on, and we'll just see how things go. Like I said, I do have 2 more videos I'll try to get uploaded this week. You know, however time permits. One of them is actually went about an hour and a half long, so I got to cut it back, and it's going to take a little bit of editing time. So as always, hope you enjoy it. Leave your comments down below. You know, thanks to my Patreon supporters, because y'all are the one that makes buying old equipment like this possible. So I appreciate it very much. Anyway, we'll see you in the next video. Bye now.